It is a great honor and a privilege to introduce Sara Schreiber. We're here in your beautiful home in London. And Sara, I know your family in Yerushalayim, and it is such a great honor and a privilege to be here with you.
Thank you.
And looking at what you've shown, the Weinstock letters, and this is a picture of your parents. So Sara, can I ask, where were you born?
In Vienna.
And the date? Do you know?
The date, in 2 months' time, I'm 100.
Sara, you are the youngest. Bemet, you're going to be Canon Hora 100 in 2 days
Yes, in June.
in June. Baruch Hashem. Oh, you should, and may Visrim.
Thank you.
Sara, that is incredible.
Auf dir gesucht.
It's wonderful. So Sara, what do you know the date when you were born?
Sure.
When?
12th of June, 23.
And you grew up in a very frum home in Vienna.
Very. Very Hasidish. And my father was a real Talmud Chochem. All his life he wrote notes about the Torah, Kabbalah, and we've got a sefer we gave out after the war. My late mother posted all his notebooks, and he had hundreds, because he wrote all the time, to Israel in a laundry basket, so it shouldn't look like, and he got there. And much later, Chaim, my husband, Chaim, we got to Israel and we got it published, and it's called David. David was my father's name. He was taken and he was murdered. And then my mother set out from Vienna with about 1,000 Jewish people to go illegal to Israel because she had no other means. And for a long time, in fact, it was winter and the Danube was frozen on a boat. Later on, they moved to Savac in Yugoslavia, and there they got an empty mill, flour mill, and they made their home there. And they arranged lessons and shiurim and cooking, Earlier on, my late brother Tzvi, who, when he was a young boy of 11, went to my mother's parents in Nitra, Czechoslovakia, and he went to the yeshiva to learn. When all this happened, we used to say, thank God one of them's out. It wasn't to be. My mother's sister's husband, my uncle David, brought him to my mother on the ship, as he was, with a rowing t-shirt or what. No package, nothing. Left him with my mum, because they were also in trouble. And he never had, I think, the 6th child when it happened, and they were taken to Poland anyway, in a camp. Anyway, they all lost my mother's mother, the grandfather died before. And so many of my Weinstock family. Two aunts in Poland, and with their children and married children and kids, I can't count. My grandfather, my father's father, Gershon Weinstock, he was a great fellow. He got to Israel, and he got there And his daughter, a widowed lady that lived with him, followed him. They had certificates or whatever you needed. But nobody could help my parents. And my mother used to say how my father lives with pachet. And God, they took him away. Didn't last long. It was difficult. We were 5 children at home. These 3 started off with my grandparents in Nitra. And 4 of us, Dr. Schoenfeld, took us on the Kindertransport, separate dates, and how we were saved. And only because a first cousin of mine had married Leo Godzinski from the cake shops, had married him and lived in London. So she took over. Uncles and even one of my sisters lived, that came with the Kindertransport, lived. When it came to me, she couldn't anymore. She was a young married couple, had 1 baby. And I was left. I was left at home. We tried everything possible. And Schoenfeld said, if you find a place to stay, I'll take you. How do you find a place to stay? My late brother, he's actually recently died. There's a picture on the floor there, on the wall. Naftule Weinstock. Died about 2 years ago, at the age of 97. He's younger. Came a year after me, just only a year. He was taken to, when he got to England, he was taken to the Schneider Yeshiva. And he went, he skipped the yeshiva quite a lot, to go around with somebody guarantee for his sister. That was me. And that's why I'm here. Tuli saved me. We called him Tuli.
He gave the guarantee.
No, he couldn't do that. He got to my cousin. No, he went from house to house in the East End and found a Jewish old couple who took me in, who said they would take me in. And on that, I could come with Schoenfeld. And they had a daughter, she was 38 at that time, but she was blind. And they thought I could be helping her. But this woman was so independent at that age, having been blind all the time. And they were very nice to me. And you know what? I couldn't speak English. I had a few lessons. That's not speaking. They could speak Yiddish. That was my muscle. This old couple could speak Yiddish. And I only realized then, not us Frim people in Vienna, that Polish people, that we spoke Yiddish. I realized how international Yiddish is. Also when I went to Russia later, we spoke with the refuseniks Yiddish and Mechaya.
So Sarah, can I ask, when did Rabbi Schoenfeld come, when did he come to Vienna? It was before the war?
He didn't come. Well, he must have.
Or he sent
I don't
representatives?
know.
But when did you leave Vienna?
I left 3 months before war broke out, 39. forgot the months for the minute, but 3 months before the war broke out. And I got to these people.
And when you left, your mother she was still at home?
Yes, and my father.
So your mother and your father were... And was it very hard to say goodbye to your parents? I mean, you didn't know what it was going to be.
We said, auf Wiedersehen.
We'll see you
Who would have
again.
thought? And you know, my parents, the nicest people you can imagine. My mother was fromm and beautiful and geschickt. She could do things and cooking and whatnot. She has a few languages, Czechoslovakian, Polish, something else, I don't know. And she was nice. Forgive. Forgive. How can you forgive this?
But your parents, they sent, did all the children manage to, all your brothers and sisters, did you all manage to leave?
Yes, and they, thank God they're gone. Because we were in London and we had Meshpocha here. The uncles and auntie that my cousin that guaranteed for them all brought over. So my father's brothers and wives, you know.
Sarah, and Rabbi Schonfeld, did you see him? You met him?
I met him later years. When I made chasani for my daughter, he came to the wedding. And again, when this David that called me, he was at the wedding. He became close, yes. He was a great man.
He was an incredible, he was an unsung hero.
Handsome, beautiful, all the ladies fell for him.
He was such a hero. He brought mainly from he himself learnt in Nitra, and he brought a lot of Yidden from Vienna before the war, and after the war he brought also survivors.
He did fantastic. Fantastic. He made himself a medal on his cap so to look more important. And yeah. So.
And Sarah, growing up in Vienna, you must have very, very fond memories of growing up in your family.
I have. We all went to the one and only religious school, the Wiener Talmud Torah, in the Malzgasse. I know exactly where it was from our home.
And which kehillah was your parents part of?
We lived in Vienna, in the Lilienbrungasse. 18 till 19. Below us, we were on the second floor. Below us was a Belzer close. My father just had to go down the steps. Then there was the Polish shield, a big shield with a choir, where my sister and I took ourselves off to go there on Friday night. Because the singing, I still remember the boy's young voice. His name was Muni Hausknecht, and I don't know if he was saved, I don't know. And that shul was burnt down.
All the shuls on Kristallnacht, except for the central shul, because
Kristallnacht. We were at home on the second floor. They broke into the Belzer close. They threw the Teure and the Svurim out through the glass, through the window on the floor and set fire to it. And we see that. And we just think we are next. Only had to go up a few steps. And we put all the lights out and shush, don't make us out. And that didn't come up.
It's a nice they never came up.
That's a nice to have been that near and that wild. Through the window of the stiebel, out on the floor. I tell you something else. The next morning, there wasn't a soul in the street. it was, everybody was scared, not even going. Nobody I saw. And I had an appointment to go to a lady, not very far away, like 15 minutes. I learned corset making. Everybody in Vienna quickly took some courses, so that when you get away to be able to make a living. So I learned courses making girdles and bras, you know, and I was 15. And I took some orders and executed them. And on that morning, I had to give the lady what I made for her and collect my money. That's the only money we had. And I was the only one in the street. It was eerie. Because she was traveling the next day or the next few days, and she had to have it, and I had to have what I spent to make it. When I say eerie, you cannot imagine. The streets were not just deserted. I don't know, there was something, or was it in my face, in my ear. I only know the German word for it, unheimlich. By the way, my English, I never really learned it. I got to England and never went to school, and I was 16. And I'd left school at 14, the Talmud Torah was finished, you know.
And Sarah, do you remember the Anschluss? When...
Of course. My mother came in with a newspaper and said that the Nazis have won. Because there was
they were welcomed, the Austrians welcomed the Nazis.
You see, that's what Putin thought, they'll welcome, he'll walk in, that's what he thought.
But the Austrians really welcomed overwhelmingly.
Yes, they were Nazis themselves. I mean, Jew haters.
And where you lived, were there also non-Jews, or was it mainly a Yiddish? Where you lived, in your apartment, were there any non-Jews in the apartments?
Yes, the caretaker of the block.
And were they good to you, or were they also?
They kept to themselves. There were other Jewish tenants that they had left. What was their name? It'll come back to me. You know, it's very hard. If somebody dies in their own bed, like my late husband, what can you do? He's gone. And he was too young. And the best man in the world. They've just opened in Sara Schreiber, I should show you that leaflet, a Technion, and it's called the Schreiber Technion. We're opening, we're doing it. But there was the dedication this week on Wednesday.
In Sara Schreiber?
Yes, but there was two things. One for my Naftuli brother, a plaque, and you know, you donate and they do it. Very nice, I should. It's online.
We live in Beit Vegan, right above Sara Schreiber.
Yes. And this Technion, left Technion for Schreiber, they spoke about my late Chaim, because he was very unique in the way he worked and in the way he was to his workmen. So much so that a Gorische workman said, he's Jewish, mind you, he's one of us. It's the relationship he had with the people that worked for him, and he worked himself off. He had 8,000 employed. You don't live here. It was a household name, Schreiber Furniture. And later GEC, Schreiber Kitchens. Anyway, there's a lot to say about that.
Sara, can I ask, when you came to England and you came to the family, was your siblings, they were with you, or you?
No, he was in the yeshiva. Faye was with the cousin she had kept her in, my older sister. She's not here anymore. And I was with these people later on. They were, when war broke out, the people I was with, Maranovich was the name. They evacuated and couldn't afford to take me with them. So I came to one of my uncles, my father's brother. And that's where I met Chaim. I was just 16. He used to come up every night after work. And my lovely auntie Recha, I've got photographs of those people, made a mistake. And that's what he wanted, a cremated one. And she did it for him. And then they played cards in the evening. So that's how we started. But I was about 16, yeah. And then there was the war. He worked for de Havilland, the aircraft people. And he developed the wings for the mosquito. They should be light in molded wood. And that's what he used in his factory to make drawers and things, you know. It was unique. And he made this picture and this picture. Have a look. Wood inlay.
Oh, wood inlay.
From veneers. Wood inlay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there are more. That was only a hobby later when he had these factories.
Sara, can I ask, when did you first see your brother and your sister when you came to London? Did it take a bit of time, or did you see them as soon as you arrived?
You want me to remember? It must have been a few days, because...
But it must have been a big help knowing that you had your brother and your sisters in London with you.
My uncle that took me in later when these people were evacuated. The Auntie Recha, she was a Rabbunish daughter. You know, in our family it was all Rabbonim. She wanted me to visit them from the East End when I arrived. So I said, I can't travel, I can't speak, I've got no money, I didn't have sixpence. And so I'll send you a young man. That was Chaim. And I said, who is he, what is he? You would see, he's very nice, he's an artist. So he took me to Auntie and laid out the fair money. And I kept saying, Auntie Recha, have you given him back the sixpence? And I never heard, I never know to this day. And then, as I say, when I lived with them, he came every night. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
And Sara, have you ever been back to Vienna?
I was never going to go back. but my father's cave is there. But this Uncle Benjamin Eliezer Schreiber, to where Helena came with her mother, saved himself. There's a long story how from the Nazis. When he was saved after the war, he moved to London, to Vienna. And then, of course, we had to go and see him. It connects with another story. Chaim, my late husband, studied architecture in Vienna. He had a stipendium, what is that, a scholarship, to study in Vienna for a Polish Yiddish kid. That was something. And he befriended my family, my cousins, the one, Gugi and Leo Grudzinski, because in Vienna they met at the Mizrahi. And Chaim always thought he had no family here. He was one alone. He lost his mother and two lovely brothers. So for years, he came in 38, I think, until 54, or was it 55? And then what happened? He met his close family. There was a fellow here, a friend from Vienna, we knew him, Freddie Greenwald. And he went to school with Tully, with my brother. And here, when he was in London, a married fellow, you know, a good friend of the family. Yeah, he made an evening for the Satmarer Rebbe. And we said, I'm sorry, we can't come. Chaim gets up early in the morning. And B, that was a Sunday night. That is quite a story. My sister, the one that lives here and that Chaim and I married off because she lived with me. She's 6 years younger than me, so I was grown up. When she got here, she was 9 years old. She got to Sunderland to a very nice Jewish family. Shochet was the name. But later on, when I got married, I took her to me. And we made the chasana for her. And on that Sunday, we had to do the seating arrangement. Excuse me. And we said, no, thank you. We can't come, we've got the seating. When it was 10 o'clock, and Chaim used to go to bed early because he got up 6 and more. When it got to 10 o'clock and we had finished, he says, Surle ins Geimer. You know what that means? Sarah, we are going. 10 o'clock at night. And when he gets there, and there's somebody there, Schulenberger, and Chaim says, Schreiber, whose Schreiber are you? And when he said, well, this man's wife was Chaim's first cousin. And he found uncles and uncles and uncles, his father's brothers. They lived in Großwardein, and they saved themselves in a boydom, what it is in a loft. We were shaking for days. I can't tell you what that meant. And they were Hasidic Menschen. So Chaim was from home as well. I have no words what went on there that night. And this Scholumsberger's wife, who was late Frau Schreiber, the next day was the chasane for my sister, and she came already to the chasane. I don't know, and then we went to the States because one uncle was there, and cousins, big family, Schreiber Burgess in Stamford Hill today still. It's unthinkable. From 38 to 54.
You didn't know?
He didn't have a mishpocha, nobody. And then this, and it was a big mishpocha. Lots of uncles, lots of wives and children married, and I can't tell you, it's unbelievable.
And if he wouldn't have gone that night, he would have...
And they lived here, and you know what? They knew Schoenfeld took children from Vienna, and they spoke to them. And he knew us, and it didn't come out.
All those years? Was your husband also brought over by Schoenfeld?
No. In Vienna, when he wanted to get away, he took some of his lovely artwork to the British consul. And they said, we can do with people like you, but you must have a guarantor. And my cousin's husband, Leo Godzinski, he called himself Graham later, Leo Graham, guaranteed for Chaim. Costs no money. It only costs when they have to keep you, they're responsible. But you don't have to pay it down. But they had already guaranteed for so many family people and friends. And that's why he's here. He was here.
And Sarah, when you went back to Vienna, was it very difficult to go back?
Look, I didn't want to speak Deutsch. I pretended I'm English, you know. But somebody must have heard me, to uncle or to anybody. Wieso sprechen Sie so gut Deutsch? He said, how comes you speak so good? I said, ich hab's in der Schule gelernt. I learned it in school. Well, that can be in any country. I wasn't going, but that uncle was so special. And the stories he has to tell. They came, I think, towards the end. They came with a spieß and poked the mattresses. And he was there, but he escaped. And how in the end did he escape? He was taken by train, goodness knows where. And he and his brother-in-law decided they're going to jump the train. And they did. Because if one jumps here and the train goes fast, the other one was somewhere else. And they didn't see each other for years. But I met them. Nissim.
It's just miracles. Nissim and Nissim, unbelievable miracles.
He was meant to live. And he was such a good soul. He did a lot in Vienna for the Yidden.
When you went back, did you go see your apartment where you once lived?
Yes, because I had to show Chaim and
who's there now?
It's still there.
It's still there?
Jewish English people live in that block. Why, I don't know.
Yidden? Yidden are living in the block?
I mean, Vienna is not a little shtetl.
There's a big Jewish community, a frum community now. How do you feel about that there's a lot of Yidden that have gone back to Vienna? It's hard.
I shouldn't have let them have it. never. But you see, take my uncle's story. He saved himself and he could speak Deutsch. So where should he go? Obviously, Vienna, not Germany. And they had a beautiful flat, and this Auntie Rosal, Halina's late mummy, was a fabulous lady. And you know the story, how she saved herself with 2 nephews and the 2 daughters. Unbelievable. And how Alina said it in such a detail, didn't she?
So how are you related? How do you...
Chaim's uncle adopted Halina and Genya and the 2 boys. So they became cousins of Chaim. Benjamin and Sara Schreiber. He adopted Halina and Genya, the 2 little girls that Auntie had.
And the 2 boys as well?
And the 2 boys. One was Nifta a few years ago here. What was his name? Landau, Ephraim Landau. And the second boy is in the States, and he wasn't very from one.
It was difficult.
Yeah.
But she kept, and with all the difficulty, the mother was unbelievable. And how her husband went back, when he said that if I don't go back, they're going to kill other Yidden, and he went back. He said he can't have Yidden being killed because he escaped.
I didn't follow that.
Her husband, the father, escaped from the camp, and he knew that when the morning comes and there's one missing, they're going to kill other Yidden. So he told his wife that he has to go back because he can't be responsible for other Yidden being killed. It's unbelievable. It's just something
The
unbelievable.
father of those children
Went back because he didn't want other Yidden to die because he had escaped. It's just something unbelievable. Very, very, very special. Very
She
unique.
was elegant and from, and a lady. That was the mother. With all the tourism.
But her husband to be the Rosh Hashiva of Kol Torah.
Oh, you know, I was at their wedding in Vienna. And in those days he called himself Leo, but it's Moshe Yehuda. And I was very friendly with his mom. Nice lady, German. Meta Schlesinger.
And Sarah, can I just ask, with all what had happened and when you found out what had happened to your parents, you always remained from? You always had your emunah and you always remained from?
Yes. Don't ask me how and why, but my parents weren't just from. They were devoted from. You know, there's a big difference. And the yichus they both came from. She'd take that.
Sarah, can we just show the picture of your parents? When you look at the pictures, they were so special. I can just show.
David was OSC.
It's wonderful
Turn
that
around. The back is my brother that was killed in the convoy in Israel that went up to the Mount of Olives. The doctors that went up.
to Mount Scopus.
Yes.
He was in that convoy.
And you know, he from Yugoslavia, they finally took, I think, 200 students to Israel, illegal, the Israelis. And they stopped in many places. Some people didn't let them stop over. It took about 4 months to get to Israel from Yugoslavia.
This was during the White Paper and the British Mandate.
Yeah. And he was very cute, very clever. And he got himself into the university in Jerusalem. And he did yeshiva. And he looked after kids or somewhere in some, I don't know where it was anymore. And he was from, really from. And he spoke a perfect English, or learned it in no time. He used to correct me because I still make mistake. I never learned it properly. He used to, years ago, when he first came to Israel, correct it. Perfect Deutsch, although he left Vienna at the age of 11, never got back there. When he went to Nitra, to the yeshiva.
But Sarah, it must give you a lot of comfort knowing that you've got grandchildren and great-grandchildren living in Israel, and they're doing so amazingly well.
They're doing very well. And they're fantastic people. Thank God.
What Torah Live, what Dan has done with Torah Live, that it goes all over the world.
What do you think of Dan?
It's what he has done. It goes all over the world.
I know.
And he's spreading the message of Torah all over the world, to every single place in the world.
I know.
Even on the aeroplanes, you can go into Torah Live. It's incredible.
I know. And wonderful
it's in schools and it's all over.
To make children interesting in the Torah and in the...
It must give you a lot of nachas, tremendous nachas.
I'm very proud of it.
But of all your children, all your grandchildren, it's incredible.
They all have something very special. I can't begin to boast.
Because, Sarah, they come from the most incredible family. And it's the zchut of your parents. It really is the zchut of your parents.
Yes.
So, Sarah, if I could ask you, what message do you give to your children and grandchildren and to the future generations?
I don't think I've ever said them. I wish them well and I wish them good health. And it's a Gott and Zilat. Ever heard that? To God, for God and for people. First of all, let them all be well. Secondly, let them follow their ancestors. There's a lot to know and to learn. But they're doing fine. They're doing fine. They're all from. Some more, some less, some a bit modern. Believe me, I'm the only one in my family without a shekel. Because Chaim didn't particularly want it, so I didn't. And after what happened, and I've got youngsters that all put the shekel on. What you're holding are 3 books here that I have made. I had made. I do the photography. Jeez. No, I don't photograph. They're sending me pictures. They're sending me pictures right, left, and center, and I develop them. And this book only came today.
Gee, Sarah, this is real nachas. This is real.
And I'm still working. This is a book that my granddaughter, David's daughter, wrote about Chaim. Chaim's way.
It's wonderful. And Dan did a film about your...
Pardon?
Dan did a film, a video about your husband's factory and the
Dan did?
The most beautiful film about the connection with his workers and how successful and the honor and they just loved your husband. Yeah. The workers, they were so committed and so...
Yeah.
It's beautiful, sure. So Sarah, I just want to really thank you because I am so incredibly grateful to you. We've been in touch for a long time, but
Do you come to London a lot?
Not really, but I'll come, and I've especially come to be with you.
Your family
so Sarah,
man? You got family?
Sure.
Well,
A daughter, and 2 daughters, and a grandson. And Bezrat Hashem in the future.
Yes.
But Sarah, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so grateful to you. You are exceptional. You really are. And it's hard. It's amazing that you're going to be 100. Baruch Hashem. But Ad Mei
if I reach it.
It's in 2 months' time. But Ad Mei V'Esrim in good health. And you've got the most amazing family that I've known for so many years. And it's always an honor and a privilege to
When
see
you
them.
live in Israel, you should
In Beit Vegan.
meet the Schreibers.
But Sarah, I really
Meet
want to
my
thank
son.
you. I met you, yeah. But Sarah, I'm so grateful to you. And really, you should just be well and have nachas and all of Hashem's blessings. And
Can I see that before somebody else sees it?
it's yours, for sure, absolutely. Sarah, I'm so grateful to you.
Thank you.
And just a Chag Sameach and Mazel Tov for your 100th birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. If I get there.
Sarah, it is incredible. Really, thank you so much, Sarah.
Thanks for that.
Sarah, this is a picture of Vienna in 1924, and you are in the middle.
Yes.
And who's the sister?
Faye. Feigele.
And on the
Naftule.
Naftali.
Oh, that was taken from that at one
That's
of the
wonderful.
celebrations.
And in this picture, these are beautiful pictures.
That's my first two daughters. And that's when she gets married, this big one. That's when I got married during the war.
These are beautiful pictures. Sure.
That's Chaim and me saluting each other.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Anyway,
Sarah, how did this picture survive? How did
I
you
took a handful I wasn't supposed to have
you took a handful of pictures?
of photos.
And this is one of the pictures.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't like this. It must have been on a postcard.
But you took it.
Yeah.
So Sarah, here's your father and your mother.
Yeah.
And these.
That's why my siblings. Just the youngest is not there.
And where are you in the picture?
On the outside here. Yeah.
And this is.
That's me. Ages back.
There's a very strong resemblance with your mother. Yeah.
I don't know.
And in this picture.
Wait a minute, let me put this.
This is your father.
Yeah.
And this picture.
Hi.
Beautiful. Sarah, thank you so much. It's been the biggest schut, the biggest honor and privilege to be here.
Listen, nice to meet you. You're doing some very important work.
Oh, yeah.
And those that I've seen, I've enjoyed.
Sarah, coming
If
from
you can enjoy something like
I know,
that.
but Sarah, coming from you, it means so much. Thank you so much. I'm so incredibly grateful.
You also had once a family Horowitz. I didn't know them personally, but my auntie who's lost during the war in Poland was a Mrs. Horowitz. And her daughter married a Horowitz, I think all the Rabbinish Horowitzes. So I used to wonder if she's one of them.
Sarah, thank you.